Today I'm going to show you how to create a panoramic portrait in Lightroom. What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Kwame. I'm a Denver-based photographer, videographer. Today, like I mentioned earlier, I want to show you how I create panoramic portraits. So what this is just taking a number of pictures, usually 3 to 5 pictures, stitching them together, and you get like a really nice panoramic. Well, in this case, I'm actually doing it as a portrait mode. As a portrait, I'm taking a bunch of high-resolution pictures, stitching them together, but keeping the depth of field the same. So let me show you what this looks like. So I'm using Lightroom here, and you can do this in Lightroom CC on the desktop or Lightroom Classic. However, you can't do this on the iPad version just yet. So the key to making this work is creating several pictures and keeping them at the same focal distance, right? So keeping your focus point the same. So what I did for this picture, I started with this picture here of our lab, and I focused on her eye. I'm using my Sony a7 II. You can use any camera to do this. Really, you should be on a tripod, but I was doing this handheld. If you do it on a tripod, your horizon line is going to be a lot straighter than it is here for mine, but it's all right. So what you want to do is create your, set your focus point. And whenever I do this, I like to flip my camera into manual focus mode. On the A7, if you just press the AF, MF button on the back, you will change it from autofocus to manual focus. That's what I did. So I pressed that button while I took the next couple pictures. So I took this first picture, then I moved to the left. Then I moved to the right. Now you can see she moved her head a little bit, but that's okay because I have this image. So this is going to be like the picture of her. Moved over to the right, moved over to the right one more, and then one more over to the left just because I want to get the beagle sleeping in the back. And so what you do from there is select all your images, and I'm just selecting Shift and then clicking on all the images. And then you want to hit Control M if you're on a Mac. Or I will put up what it is on a PC. I can't remember right now. But Control M on a Mac here. And these are not HDR pictures, so I'm just going to hit no. And now Photoshop's going to come in here or Lightroom, sorry, is going to come in here and stitch these together. Now you have 3 different ways you can do this: spherical, cylindrical, and perspective. And we can look at how each one renders out this file. So this one here is a little bit more circular. The perspective one, I don't like the perspective one. You could see here how the horizon line was a little bit funky. So I picked this one. I think this looks the best. You can also do some like boundary warps if you want to straighten it up a little bit. You can go all the way like that. And honestly, for this picture, it looks pretty good. I didn't do it earlier, but if you go like this, it looks pretty good. You can hit auto crop, you can do auto settings, but I'm not doing any of that. I am actually not going to turn on boundary warp, and I've already merged them to save time. So once you do that, it's going to open up this file. And so this is the file that we have. So the first thing I like to do is straighten out the picture. Again, I was shooting handheld, so you can see it looks like it kind of slopes. The floor is sloping down to the right. So I'm just going to open up the development tool, and for this one I like to use the transform tool and rotate. So I will rotate it up here, and that looks better. I'm looking at where her eyes are, so they look straight. The chair in the back here looks straight. Now you do see a little bit of the floor does curve a little bit here. And that's okay. Like, again, this is okay. One thing that I always like to think about when I'm editing pictures, these aren't for print, right? These aren't for a magazine or anything like that. This is for myself. This is going in a book at the end of the year. So, however I want to edit this picture, that's fine by me. So I'm going to settle on this. I like this look. And then next, I'm going to go into my crop tool here. I'm going to start by just creating my own custom crop. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to crop out the window. So there's a window up, windows up here. I'm going to crop that down. Maybe we'll keep the beagle in for this one. Crop that. And then when I'm doing these crops, I'm actually looking up here too, because this gives you a really nice preview in the navigator. So I'm looking here, and I think I like this. I'm gonna hit done, and then this is my crop. Now I might come back to this, to the rotate here and play with this a little bit. There we go. I don't know where I was at, but I like this. And again, I'm looking at her eyes and making sure her eyes are straight. Now, so what's nice with this is because I shot all these pictures raw, it still retains the raw images. So you can see it's a DNG, Pano DNG, and this is a really big file. You can see it's about 13,000 pixels wide and 3,500 pixels high. So that's a really big image. I'm going to start out here and just hit auto. Again, this is a good baseline. I usually will tweak it from here, but I will see what they've done. Brought down the blacks a little bit, open up the whites, open up the shadows, brought down the highlights, brought the exposure up a little bit, and increased the contrast. Same with the vibrance and saturation. All right, that's a good start. I am going to start with the white balance in here. I'm going to warm it up just a tad, not too much, but just a tad. Now, I'm not going to, I want to open up the shadows a little bit more on her face, but I'm not going to do that from within here just yet. Then we're also going to come down here and look at the details, and I'm going to, if you hit option and then you pull on this masking here, you will see it turns it black and white, and you can see where the sharpening is going to take effect, and you can mask out everything else. So I like that. There's not a ton of noise, so I'm not gonna do, maybe I'll do just a little bit of noise reduction. All right, looking at her eyes again, this eye is definitely sharp, and then I do want to bring down the clarity just a little bit, just to soften up the image. And what's really cool, if you did this same type of image with a lens that was that went down in a lower aperture, so let's say you did this at like a 1.8 or 2.4, you would, like, this effect, this depth of field effect will be even greater. So right now her nose is a little bit out of focus, so for this picture I was at f 5.6 because that's the lowest aperture that my 28 to 70 can go at 70 millimeters. So again, the way I shot this is I backed up, zoomed in as much as I could. That way I could get the most compression of her, like separation from her in the background. So you can see what's behind her still. You can see the chairs here, you can see our bookshelf, you can see the beagle. But again, I want your eye to be drawn here. The next one I'm going to do is grab this filter here and draw a circle over her face. All right, and then if you hit O, you're gonna see where this adjustment layer is gonna affect. But if you come down here and invert it, now it's just gonna affect her face. So down here, I'm actually going to open it up a little bit. Hit O again to take that off. I'm gonna open this up just a little bit by like or 0.21. I'm gonna open up the shadows some more, and I'm going to bring the clarity up just a little bit, and maybe bring the shadows up a little bit more. Now what this is going to do is give her even more separation from the rest of her body, because if you look at the before and after here, before, like, her face was the same exposure as the rest of her body, but now when you turn it on, it brightens up her face, and again, it just brings the image to life. It makes the image more three-dimensional. Then I always, again, like to look at the before and after. So you can see here, already it looks really good. What I'm going to do now is come into the effects and add a little vignette on here. Again, I really want to draw attention to our dog here, the lab. And I'm not going to go too heavy with it. might, I always like to come here, see where the effect, like where the vignette's happening, and then obviously back off. There, so that's pretty good. I really, again, before, after, it looks good. It's still bothering me just a little bit that it's, alright, so this horizon, just want to make sure, yeah, that looks way better. Alright, so before, this is the after, and it looks really good. Now again, this is a, everyday portraiture. You take pictures of your dog, but this is a little bit different. You can do this with people, dogs. You can do it with like a tree. The key again is to set your focus point and then make sure that doesn't change, right? So even when you're panning and taking several pictures, you want the focus point to be the same so that everything on, like in this case, this plane of field here will be in focus. So to get the best results, you probably want to use like a prime lens with something with like a 1.8 aperture. That's going to give you the best results of getting a shallow depth of field and getting everything really sharp and in focus. So that is what I like to call portrait panoramics. This is like a fun little thing to do around the house or even when we're traveling. Again, it's just a different perspective on what your image looks like. If I hit full screen, you can see here what this image looks like. I like it a lot. It's just another way to add a little creativity to our everyday life, especially right now if you're in a state where it's still locked down and you're not getting out as much. This is a fun thing to do. You could do it on your family members. I do it, with the dogs all the time. As always, thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Talk to you later. Bye bye.